Yesterday, I spent half my day trying to save a lizard. Yes, a lizard. And oddly enough, he taught me one of the most important lessons I've ever heard about survival mode. So I'm going to share it with you. Because when I first saw him, he looked trapped, frozen, overwhelmed, like he had completely given up. And the more I watched him, the more I realized I've felt exactly like that before. Maybe you have too. So in this video, I'm going to show you what that little lizard taught me about why we get stuck, why forcing rarely works, and how to finally escape survival mode. If you're an ambitious woman who knows you're capable of more, but you keep finding yourself overwhelmed, exhausted, procrastinating, or doubting yourself, then I want you to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because every week we break down the hidden childhood patterns, nervous system responses, and subconscious beliefs that keep high achieving women like you stuck. And if we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Jess, a former top global beauty publicist. Outside of my career, I spent 2 decades studying patterns, human behavior, and psychology. And because of my career, I got to work with everyone from celebrities to billionaires, which gave me a front row seat to how different people respond to pressure, adversity, and uncertainty. Today, I help women like you uncover the hidden patterns keeping you stuck so you can stop self-sabotaging, trust yourself again, and step into your full potential. And what happened with that lizard reminded me of something I see with my clients all of the time. People think they're lazy when they're actually overwhelmed, because survival mode can make you think something is wrong with you. So a few weeks ago, I noticed this big lizard that looked dead inside a pipe next to my sprinkler system. He wasn't moving, he wasn't reacting, nothing. So I thought, well, that's unfortunate. And I went about my day. About a week later, I went back to manually turn on the sprinklers because they were broken. And there he was, same pipe, same spot, except this time his eyes were open. Now, I don't know much about lizards, but I know enough to know dead things don't usually open their eyes. So I thought, that's weird, and still didn't think much of it. Then a couple of days went by, and I went to turn on the sprinklers, and there he was again, same pipe, same spot, and suddenly I thought, what if he's trapped? Now, apparently this is what happens when you're in your 40s. You become emotionally vested in random lizard's future. So I asked Copilot what I should do, and that's when things got interesting. Copilot explained that if he'd been down there for a couple of weeks, he was likely dehydrated, he was likely trapped, and he was likely in a freeze response. My first instinct was to feed him so he'd have the strength to get out. But apparently, when lizards enter a freeze response, they won't eat. Their system is literally hyper-focused on survival. Remind you of anybody? And the second I heard that, something clicked. You may have heard of the old reptilian brain theory. Scientists now know the brain is more complicated than that model. But one thing we do know is that humans and animals share ancient survival responses designed to protect us when we perceive danger. Sometimes we fight, sometimes we run, and sometimes we freeze. And what really hit me was this: the lizard wasn't focused on getting out. His system was simply focused on surviving. And humans do the exact same thing. When our nervous system becomes overwhelmed, we stop focusing on growth. We stop focusing on our goals. We stop focusing on the future. Instead, all of our energy goes toward getting through the moment, which is why you can think you're lazy or unmotivated or a procrastinator or even broken, when what's actually happening is that your nervous system is trying to protect you, because survival mode has a way of making you believe there's something wrong with you, when really your system is doing what it was designed to do. When I found the lizard, he wasn't moving much. At first glance, it looked like he wasn't trying, like he had given up, like he was stuck. But the longer I watched him, the more I realized something. Being stuck and being incapable are not the same thing. And this is where so many people misunderstand themselves. They think, I should be doing more. I should be farther along. Why can't I just get it together? But when your nervous system is overwhelmed, protection mode doesn't prioritize growth. It prioritizes survival. But here's what I found fascinating, because once I understood understood what was happening, the solution seemed obvious. Give him a way out. Problem solved. Except it wasn't. Because you can't force your way out of survival mode. So after talking to Copilot, I built him an escape ramp. I took our ADT alarm system sign, stole one of my husband's long socks, and somehow found myself running a luxury rehabilitation center for a lizard. I put the ramp literally right in front of his face, and then I left. A few hours later, I came expecting him to be gone. Instead, he had turned around and was pressed up against the side of the pipe. And that's when my heart sank, because the way out was right there. The path was right there. The solution was right there. And he still wasn't taking it. And honestly, isn't that exactly how it feels when you're watching someone you care about stay stuck? Or if we're being really honest, when you're watching yourself stay stuck, the relationship is hurting you. The job is draining you. You should start the business. You should set the boundary. You know what to do. The ramp is right there, but somehow you still can't make yourself take the next step. And that's where most people get survival mode wrong, because they assume if you're not moving, it's because you don't want it badly enough. So they start yelling at you, just do it, believe in yourself, get off your butt. Meanwhile, I'm standing in my front yard having the exact same reaction. Like, sir, I just built you a custom sock staircase. Use it. But according to Copilot, the problem wasn't that he didn't want out. The problem was that his body wasn't ready yet. He was dehydrated, conserving energy. He was doing what his system needed to do before it could move. And that's when it hit me. You can't force a lizard out of survival mode, just like you can't force a human out of survival mode either. You can't shame yourself into healing. You can't bully yourself into confidence. You can't motivate yourself out of a nervous system response, because survival mode isn't a knowledge problem. It's a safety problem. The little guy didn't need another ramp. He didn't need a better speech. And he definitely didn't need me standing over the pipe screaming, climb the sock. What he needed was enough safety, energy, and regulation for his system to finally use the path that was already there. And honestly, it's no different for us. That's what our nervous system needs too. It needs to feel safe. It needs to feel regulated. Because when we're stuck in survival mode, the problem usually isn't that we don't know what to do. The problem is that our nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to do it. But the moment we start creating that safety, the moment we start regulating our nervous system, movement becomes possible. And if this is resonating with you, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, what is the ramp that you've been staring at? Is it a business, a relationship, a boundary, a career change? What's the thing you know you need to do, but you just can't seem to make yourself do it yet? And here's the thing, what you're stuck on usually isn't the real problem, because it isn't what you're doing. It's what your nervous system believes. Here's the mistake I see people make all the time. They think survival mode is something you feel, but what it really is something you've been practicing for decades. You don't wake up one morning and think, wow, my nervous system is dysregulated today. No, you think, I need to work harder. I need to stop being lazy. I need to get my life together. And that's exactly why survival mode is so sneaky, because it disguises itself as your personality. You think you're a procrastinator, but what if you're actually afraid of failure? You think you're a perfectionist, but what if you're actually afraid of criticism? You think you're unmotivated, but what if you're exhausted from constantly living in protection mode? The problem isn't the behavior. The problem is the pattern underneath the behavior. And until you identify the pattern, you'll keep trying to fix the symptom. And that's why one of the first things I teach my clients is this: stop asking yourself what's wrong with me and start asking yourself, what is my nervous system trying to protect me from? Because you see, that question changes everything. So how do you finally escape survival mode? First, you have to understand where it comes from, because survival mode isn't random. Your nervous system didn't didn't wake up one day and decide to make your life difficult. It adapted. For example, maybe you had a parent who only gave you attention when you achieved something. So you learned, if I perform, I'm loved. And now as an adult, you feel like your worth is tied to your productivity. Or maybe every time you made a mistake, you got punished. So you learned, if I mess up, I'm not safe. And now you're terrified of failure. You're terrified of what people will think. You're terrified of criticism. Or maybe you grew up in a house where everyone else's emotions mattered more than yours. Mom was upset, dad was angry, someone was always having a bad day. So you learn to constantly scan the room. Who's upset? Who needs something? How do I keep everyone happy? And now you're exhausted because you've spent your entire life taking care of everyone except yourself. Or maybe you were ignored, neglected, overlooked, and you learned, if I need less, maybe I'll be loved more. So now you struggle to ask for help. You struggle to receive. You struggle to believe that you matter. Do you see what's happening? Do you see how everything is connected and tied to your childhood? Those weren't personality traits. Those were your survival strategies that you're still using today. They were solutions created by a younger version of you trying to get love, avoid pain, stay connected, or stay out of trouble. Your nervous system is still using the same strategies today, even when they're no longer helping you. So how do you start changing that? First, you have to regulate your nervous system, because you cannot heal while you are activated. You cannot think clearly while your brain believes that you're under attack. So breathe. Go for a walk, step outside, do whatever helps bring you back into the present moment. Then, and only then, ask yourself, what is this fear trying to protect me from? Not what am I afraid of? What am I trying to avoid? Rejection, criticism, being alone, disappointing someone? Because once you identify the fear, you can challenge the story behind it. Just because you were criticized as a child doesn't mean you'll be criticized today. Just because someone abandoned you back then doesn't mean everyone will abandon you now. Just because your past happened doesn't mean it's your future. That's where the shift happens. You start teaching your nervous system a new truth, one boundary at a time, one act of self-respect at a time, one act of self-trust at a time. Because every time you choose yourself, you're sending your nervous system a message. We're not that little kid anymore. We're safe now. And that's how you escape survival mode. And if you're ready to start identifying the childhood patterns that may be keeping you stuck in survival mode, I have a ton of free resources that can help. I've written articles, blog posts, and even a free newsletter where I dive deeper into childhood patterns, nervous system regulation, self-trust, self-love, self-worth, and the hidden beliefs that change our lives. I also have a free resource that walks you through the first step of my method, See It, because you can't change a pattern you cannot see. So if you're ready to start uncovering the subconscious patterns that may be running your life, I want you to head over to poweredbyjess.com. Everything is waiting for you there. If survival mode has left you feeling anxious, overwhelmed, exhausted, or like your brain won't stop spiraling, the next video you need to watch is this one right here. Because understanding survival mode is one thing, and knowing what to do when you're in the middle of it is something completely different. In this next video, I break down why you feel anxious and overwhelmed, what's actually happening inside of your nervous system, and how to start calming it down in real time. Click on that video right now, because it perfectly builds on everything we've talked about today. I'll see you there.